Just imagine, for one moment, today's date. You wake up in the morning, you reach for your phone, but it doesn't work. The internet is gone. AI has gone silent. The world's biggest factories are shutting down. Billions of dollars are disappearing within hours, and millions of people have no idea what's happening. Now here's the most shocking part. This isn't because of a world war. It isn't caused by a nuclear attack. It could all happen because one single machine stops working. A machine that most people have never even heard of. Yet the truth is, your smartphone, your laptop, artificial intelligence, and perhaps the future of modern civilization itself all depend on this one machine. So, what is this machine? Where is it, and why has the entire world become so dependent on something almost nobody knows exists? Today, we're uncovering the incredible story behind the machine that quietly powers our world. But before we reveal what this mysterious machine actually is, there's something even more unbelievable. Right now, as you're watching this video, thousands of planes are flying, millions of cars are moving, banks are processing billions of transactions, hospitals are saving lives, and artificial intelligence is answering millions of questions every single second. At first, these things don't seem connected. In fact, they look like completely different worlds, but they're not. Behind all of them, hidden far away from the public eye, is one invisible connection. A single technology so important that if it suddenly disappeared, modern civilization wouldn't slowly collapse, it would begin to break apart almost immediately. And here's the strangest part. Most people spend their entire lives using products that depend on it without ever knowing it exists. So what is this machine? Why can only a handful of companies on Earth even build it? And how did one invention become so powerful that governments now treat it as a matter of national security? To answer that, we have to go back to a problem the world faced decades ago. Because this story didn't begin with artificial intelligence, it began with something much smaller, a tiny piece of silicon that quietly changed human history forever. The story begins not with artificial intelligence, not with smartphones, and not even with the internet. It begins more than 70 years ago, with a problem that seemed almost impossible to solve. Back then, computers were enormous. Some were as large as entire rooms. They consumed huge amounts of electricity, generated unbelievable heat, and yet they were less powerful than the smartphones sitting in your pocket today. The world needed something smaller, faster, and far more powerful. That search changed everything. In 1947, scientists at Bell Labs made a discovery that would quietly reshape human history forever. It was called the transistor. At first, it looked insignificant, small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. But over the next few decades, billions of transistors would find their way onto a single computer chip. And that's when the impossible became possible. Your phone, your laptop, modern hospitals, satellites, self-driving cars, even the AI you're seeing today, all exist because of one tiny piece of silicone. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Making a computer chip sounds simple. It isn't. In reality, building the world's most advanced chips is one of the most difficult engineering challenges humanity has ever attempted. In fact, the process is so incredibly precise that a single particle of dust, almost too small for your eyes to see, can destroy a chip worth thousands of dollars. Think about that for a second. One tiny speck of dust can ruin months of work, which raises a much bigger question. If making a single chip is already this difficult, then who builds the machine capable of creating billions of microscopic transistors with almost perfect accuracy? The answer changed the balance of power in the modern world. The answer, surprisingly, isn't Apple. It isn't Google. It isn't Microsoft, and it isn't even Nvidia. Instead, it leads to a company that many people have never even heard of, a company with fewer employees than most people would expect, yet one that quietly sits at the center of the world's technology industry. Its name is ASML. Based in the Netherlands, ASML builds the most advanced chip-making machines ever created. And here's what makes them extraordinary. These aren't ordinary factory machines, they're engineering masterpieces. A single machine can cost more than $350 million. It contains over 100,000 precision-engineered parts shipped from hundreds of specialized suppliers around the world. Moving just one of these machines isn't simple either. It often requires dozens of shipping containers, multiple cargo planes, and months of careful assembly before it can even be switched on. But the price, the size, and the complexity are not the most unbelievable part. The real miracle happens inside. This machine performs a process called Extreme Ultraviolet Lithography, or simply EUV. Imagine trying to draw billions of perfectly identical lines, each thousands of times thinner than a human hair. Now imagine doing it not once, but billions of times, without making a mistake. That's exactly what this machine does. It uses one of the most powerful and precise light systems ever built by humans to carve microscopic circuits onto silicon. Circuits so incredibly small that if one tiny layer is even slightly misaligned, the entire chip becomes useless. And remember, every powerful processor, every advanced AI chip, every flagship smartphone, and every modern data center depends on chips made using this technology. Which means this isn't just another expensive machine. It's one of the few technologies that modern civilization simply cannot replace overnight. But here's the question almost nobody asks. If one company builds the world's most important machine, why doesn't another company just copy it? The answer is where this story becomes even more unbelievable. Here's the part that almost nobody believes. Building the world's most powerful chip-making machine isn't just difficult. For now, it's practically impossible to copy. You might be wondering, if it's so important, why don't countries like China, or even giant companies with unlimited money, simply build their own? It sounds like a simple question, but the answer reveals just how complicated the modern world has become. Because this machine isn't really built by one company, it's the result of decades of engineering and thousands of brilliant minds working together across different countries. Its mirrors are so perfectly polished that if they were expanded to the size of Earth, the tallest bump on their surface would be smaller than a few centimeters. Think about that for a second. That's a level of precision almost impossible to imagine. The laser system is powerful enough to fire tens of thousands of pulses every second. The light it produces is among the most advanced forms of light ever used in manufacturing, and every tiny component must work with near-perfect accuracy. If even one critical part fails, the entire process can stop. This is why, for decades, no company has been able to build a complete alternative that matches it. And that's exactly why governments no longer see these machines as ordinary factory equipment. They see them as strategic power, as technology that can influence economies, military strength, artificial intelligence, and even the future balance of global power. But then, something happened that proved just how valuable these machines had become, not inside a laboratory, but on the world stage. And suddenly, a machine hidden inside a factory became part of an international political battle, a battle that is still shaping the future today. The battle is no longer about who has the biggest army
or the most powerful missiles. It's about who can build the most advanced technology. That's why, in recent years, advanced chip technology has become one of the most valuable strategic assets on Earth. Countries have tightened export controls on the most advanced chip-making equipment, not because these machines are ordinary factory tools, but because they influence the future of artificial intelligence, supercomputing, and national security. And that's what makes this story so incredible. Every time you unlock your phone, open your laptop, ask AI a question, or watch a video online, you're using technology that exists because millions of microscopic transistors were printed with extraordinary precision. Most people will never see one of these machines. Most people will never walk inside the clean rooms where they operate. But every single day, they benefit from what those machines quietly create. And maybe that's the strangest part of all. The machine that helps power the modern world is hidden in plain sight, not because it's invisible, but because almost nobody thinks about it, until today. If one day this technology suddenly stopped advancing, the world wouldn't stop overnight, but the future we've come to expect would slow down in ways most of us have never imagined. Sometimes, the most powerful invention on Earth isn't the one everyone is talking about. It's the one almost nobody knows exists. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden systems that quietly shape our world, subscribe to Nexera Explains, because the next story is even bigger.